Hi everybody, in today's video I'm going to be looking at the track Chicken Pickin' as played by the country guitar great Don Rich. And the clue is in the song title really. We're going to be examining the guitar technique of chicken picking, which is where you make your guitar cluck like a chicken, and what could be more fun than that? And it really is one of the quintessential country guitar techniques, I think. And this track also contains some other nice country ideas. Got some great string bending licks, some double stop stuff too, so it's a really fun one to play. It's well worth spending some time learning this one if you're remotely interested in country guitar. So I want to begin by just playing through the first section of this piece, and then I'll break down what's going on in a little bit of detail. If you're new to this channel, do please subscribe, as that does help me grow the channel and to keep on doing this. But anyway, let's get started. So there we go, and I don't actually know very much about this particular track. It does appear on a great Don Rich compilation record called the Don Rich Anthology, which I thoroughly recommend. And that album also contains a couple of other famous Don Rich instrumentals, Buckaroo and the Happy-Go-Lucky Guitar, both of which I have looked at previously on this channel. I think this particular track, Chicken Pickin', isn't quite as well known, but I think it's a really great little piece of music. Exactly when and where it was recorded, I don't actually know. I'm assuming it was recorded sometime during the 1960s. Incidentally, if you've got any other country guitar requests, then do let me know. I'd be interested to hear those suggestions. I know that I'm slightly guilty of looking at the same old country guitar players, so Don Rich, James Burton. Nothing wrong with that, of course, but it would be interesting to have some fresh suggestions, so let me know. But anyway, let's get started by looking at this track, and I'll break down how it's played. First things first, I'm playing this in the key of E, but the original recording is in the key of E flat, and I reckon that Don Rich is tuned down a half step on the original recording. I can hear some open strings in there. It's a kind of a giveaway, and the whole thing just sits a lot more naturally in the key of E. I might be wrong. It does sometimes happen. I might be an important guitar influencer and all of that, but I'm not infallible. So maybe Don Rich is playing it in the key of E flat, but it feels a lot more natural to play it in the key of E to me. If you did want to play along to the original recording and play it in E flat, you can always just shift everything down by one fret and adjust a few things and make it work that way. It's more difficult, but it is doable. The introduction then. And let's start by just examining this chicken picking technique. And there are a few different ways of going about this, but for the most part, when you're talking about chicken picking, it's a combination of muted notes and then snapped notes. And you're usually doing this with hybrid picking, so a combination of playing with the pick and then one or more fingers of the picking hand as well. And the basic idea with this track is we've got a triplet of muted notes on the third string, and then we've got a snapped high note on the first string. So the opening idea, we've got the triplet played on the third string with the pick, so down, up, down of the pick, and that's muted. So to achieve that muted sound, you're just going to rest one or more fingers on the third string, just so it's muffled. I tend to also add in a little bit of palm muting as well, just as kind of extra insurance, just to give you that really kind of muted sound. Otherwise, you can sometimes you kind of get harmonics coming through, which you don't really want in this particular context. So we've got these muted triplets, and then to start with, we're playing the 12th fret on the top string, and I'm just snapping that with the middle finger of my picking hand. So we've got the triplet with the pick, and then a snapped high note. So that's the basic idea, but another element of this is you can actually slide up into these muted notes. Something like that. So I'm actually starting a few frets below, and my target here is the 13th fret on the 3rd string. I'm kind of using this little 6th shape to guide me here. So I'm aiming for the 13th fret on the 3rd string, and then you've got the 12th fret note on the top string. And I'm just sliding from a few frets below into that 13th fret note. I'm using my 2nd finger, and then I'm playing the top note. So that kind of idea, and you can gradually just add a little bit more pressure as you get towards the 13th fret. If you listen very closely to the recording, mostly he's just got very tightly muted notes, but sometimes that last note you can actually hear it coming through, so which kind of indicates that he's actually just adding in some pressure towards the end. So that's the basic idea, and then we're just going to carry that idea through a lot of the phrases in this tune. So for the introduction, we're starting with this shape here, then we've got the same shape 2 frets lower, and then we're going to this 6th shape, so the 9th fret on both strings, and then the 8th fret, and then we're playing the 7th fret on the top string. So as I said, using those 6 shapes to guide me, but for the most part just muting the note on the 3rd string, and that gives you this effect if I just do it slowly. That's the introduction. A cool variation on this basic idea is to actually have 3 chromatic notes as that muted triplet. So rather than having this kind of vague slide up to a target note, we can actually have a little run of 3 chromatic notes. So if you're going into this triplet here, the note at the 13th fret on the 3rd string is still the target, but we can play 11, 12, 13. So quite a nice variation, and then you can take that through the phrase. So sounds cool, I think. I do sometimes play that phrase. I don't actually think that's what Don Rich is doing. It doesn't sound as precise as that. I think it's more likely to just be this kind of muted slide into a target note. Then we're into what I'm going to call the verse of the tune. That's our first phrase, and the chords being outlined here, we've really got an E chord going to an A chord here. So for the E chord, we're just using these 6th shapes, so quite similar to the introduction. We've got this shape, down 2 frets, then the 9th fret, then we're going straight down to the 7th fret, and we're just applying that chicken picking technique, so muted notes followed by the snapped notes on the top string. And then we've got a nice single note phrase. And that's outlining that A chord sound. So I'm thinking around this A chord shape. This is largely A major pentatonic, but with the addition of this G sharp, and the phrase starts on the top string. Little hammer on, reaching back for the G sharp, ending on this C sharp, which is the 3rd of our A chord. Then we continue like this. And this is the same as our opening idea, but now we're playing it to fit over a B chord, which is the 5 chord in the key. So we've got this little 6th shape, which is you can find at the top of this bar chord grip, and it's the same idea. So taking that down 2 frets, and then this shape at the 4th fret, and then this F sharp. And then to round off the phrase, we turn it around with this idea. So we've got just 1, 2, 3 on the 3rd string, and then onto the top string, 3, 2, pulling off to the open string, 3rd fret on the 3rd string, open top string, and then this pair of 6, once again 3rd fret to the 2nd fret. And again, playing that with a bit of hybrid picking. And with all of this hybrid picking stuff, it helps if you give the top note a little bit of a snap. So I'm actually plucking the string, pulling it away slightly from the fingerboard to give it that nice snap. Then we're going around for the second verse, or the second half of the first verse, if you like. It starts in exactly the same way. And it just ends differently, so there's a slightly different turnaround phrase. That's all the same, but then I'm going to the second fret with the sixth shape, and then resolving here to the first fret on the third string and the open top string. So it's kind of a second ending to the verse, if you like. Let me put all of that together for you quite slowly then, the complete first verse. Next we've got a bridge section. And got some really nice licks in this section, and we're just following the chord progression really with some single note ideas. And the chord progression is this: we're starting off on a G sharp, or a G sharp 7 if you like. Then you've got C sharp, F sharp, and then B, so a very typical kind of circle of fifths type chord progression. And Don Rich is really just playing out of these chord shapes. I mean, that's how I'm thinking about it. Very often when I'm playing country guitar, I'm thinking about the underlying chord, and then I've got a selection of single note ideas that fit that chord. So if we're playing over this G sharp or G sharp 7, you've got your minor pentatonic scale, you've got your major pentatonic scale as well. And with this particular phrase, it starts off just straightforward minor pentatonic, but then we're ending on the major third, the third of that G major chord. Nice effective phrase there. Make sure you're playing it with the right rhythm as well. There's a nice swing to it, a little bit of syncopation in there too. Next we've got this. So coming out of this C sharp 7 chord, it starts in the same way, those pentatonic notes, and then little country bending idea. So bending at the 11th fret on the 3rd string, and then I'm playing the 9th fret on the 2nd string, releasing the bend, and then coming down once again to the major third of the chord. And then we've got the F sharp. That's like our opening phrase of the bridge, but played 2 frets lower. It's exactly the same idea. Then we're moving to B, or B7. This is the 5 chord, and we've got this idea. So it starts off the same way, but then the bending idea is slightly different. So we're bending at the 9th fret, and we're holding down the 10th fret on the B string, coming down, and then landing on the major third of the chord. So a really nice idea to outline that 7th chord sound, because you've got the 3rd and the flat 7 both in there. So that's the bridge. Let me just put all of that together slowly for you. Next we've got what I think is a dobro solo. It's that kind of resonator guitar. I don't think that's played by Don Rich, so I'm not going to go into that in this particular video. But underneath that solo you can hear Don Rich just continuing with some more of these chicken picking kind of ideas by way of accompaniment to the solo. So he's really just playing scales, I think, just on the top string for this. So we've got this kind of idea. So I'm actually just playing this all on the same string, so just muted triplets once again, and then just descending. That kind of idea, and then so you can play it. It's a little bit hard to hear exactly what he's doing, but it's something along those lines. Then the whole thing really just repeats. There are some slight variations in the parts, which I will tab out note for note in my transcription, but I might just go through a few of the variations here. I think when he plays the verse again, it's all more or less the same. On the bridge it is slightly different. There's a slightly different rhythm, and the bending licks are slightly different too, so that the second time you hear the bridge it sounds like this. So you can hear that the rhythm has got a little bit more bounce and syncopation to it. So it's 1, 2, 3. And then the bending lick is slightly different too. So it's still bending on the 3rd string at the 11th fret, but the high note has changed. We're now playing the 9th fret on the top string. So. And then a similar thing in the second half of the phrase. So the rhythm is, and then same bending idea, but just moves down. So bending on the 3rd string, but with the high note on the top string. And there's a nice little ending part as well, which I will show you. It comes out of the main verse theme. Like so. So it's this idea. So it's starting off with this double stop 6th at the 3rd fret, and just coming down on the top string, and then so 2nd fret on the 3rd string, open top string, going to the 2nd fret. That's the idea. And then the last little bit, I'm hearing it as 4ths, so top 2 strings, 7th fret, 9th fret and 12th fret. So that's about it. Those are all of the basic parts. Take a listen to the original recording and you should be able to piece all of that together. There will of course be a note for note and accurate transcription up on my Patreon page as well. Gear for this video then, I'll just go on for my default country guitar setup, which I've used in many videos. I've got my Telecaster bridge pickup going into my Fender Princeton. It's just a nice bright clean sound. I'm just using one effects pedal, and that is the MXR Dynacomp, just for a little bit of compression. So that all sounds like this. If I just bypass the compressor to start with, this is just the clean sound, the Tele going straight into the Princeton. And then turning on the compressor. So that's it. I really hope you've enjoyed watching this video. As always, tab and backing track are going to be up on the old Patreon page. And I'm also going to film a few extras for the Patreon page as well. I'm going to break down the chord progression and the dobro solo from this tune in a little bit more detail. So if you're interested in a bit more info on this particular track, then do check out the Patreon page. Thanks a lot for watching, and I will see you next time.